when you're in terms of businesses, sometimes you have to stay afloat. You have to do things that cash flow can be limited with any business, and in order to keep it running, you have to definitely be willing to take a risk, but it has to be a calculated risk. You have to think about, is this what I'm spending money on going to yield a return to me, either financially or principally, in what I'm trying to accomplish.
It was good, wasn't it? Let's face it.
So we're here live in the van cam with John. Wanted to talk to you, man. What was that? The fashion show, right?
Mm-hmm. Retro Mended.
So how did that go?
It went good. I mean, we weren't even printing that night, and the response was still really good. People still liked it a lot. Got a lot of questions. Met a lot of people, yourself included, and it inspired me to turn it up a notch with preparing the vehicle for events. Because up to that point, we were so new, and we were promoting it and telling people about it and flyering it, and wasn't quite ready to print yet. We were still dialing in our entire setup.
Print, as in like the images or whatever?
As in the strips, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because printing is, it could be a complicated thing. It took me a while to figure out, essentially without electric and power. And it took me a while to figure out how I was going to do that. And I started to use one of those down there. You guys can't see it, but I've got a lead acid auxiliary battery that has plug outlets on it.
Down here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that thing right there. And we've got Santa Claus here plugged into it. We've got the Christmas tree here plugged into it, which you can catch a little bit on the camera. And that powers everything when I'm at an event. The printer, I can recharge my camera if I need to while I'm at an event.
Wow.
But we haven't needed to do that yet. It just runs the printer for me, and any other like little light up things I want people to see.
And so for those people, like, because I had never seen anything like this I'm from Indiana, so we don't have much,
Okay. Nothing trendy up there.
Yeah, trendy. Yeah, that's the word.
Closest thing is Chicago.
Yeah. So explain to people because they might not be, especially like Instagram, they can't really see like what we're in. Like how would you describe?
How I got like the idea for it, or
like what it actually is.
Oh, okay. So it's a fully mobile photo booth within the VW bus, which is a 73 VW bus.
It's just called the van cam, right?
Just called the van cam. And yeah, we should explain to people exactly what we are. So it's a photo booth for events, weddings, private parties, openings, anniversaries, birthday parties, where people can sit in the van like we're doing right now. We've got a camera, which is actually positioned where your recording camera is right now, that shoots people here. We've got backdrops that they can custom, if they want to do a Mylar, if they want to do all black or all red, depending on the theme of their event, we can customize the backdrop. And we also have props galore outside, and they just bring them into the van when they're ready to take their pictures. What else can I add to that? And the prints come out right back here. The printer's usually sitting right back here behind us, and the trunk stays open. And prints in about a minute and a half, about 90 seconds.
So like a pretty much portable photo booth for someone that's something that they can easily understand.
Yeah, totally.
So you kind of told me last time, like, what made you come up with the idea, and then to actually go through with it?
Okay.
You came up with it.
Yeah. So this is my third van, bus/van. I call them all vans, but VW enthusiasts will want to call this a bus.
Really?
Technically it's Volkswagen made the bus, and they didn't come out with the Vanagon, which was their replacement for the bus, till 1980.
Wow.
So I've had 2 Vanagons and 1 bus. This is my first bus, and I was running the Orlando Van Club, which is something I've had off the ground now for almost 2 years.
You started, or you just came in and were like, hey, I'm gonna...
Yep,
you
started it.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
I knew that. I figured there had to be other people in town, Central Florida, that were into old vans, and it didn't have to be VW, just any cool old van, because there's so many purposes for van life. Like some people living in them temporarily, some permanently, some just like driving old vans because they're cool, some like making businesses out of them, like I'm doing, and I just wanted a common ground to bring all those people together. So yeah, I had that going on. And I was into photography already.
And how long ago was that you started that?
That was the Orlando Van Club. That was in that was in March of 2016. So it's just over about a year and a half old.
Okay.
But I wanted to marry the two because I was a landscape photographer as a hobby, and thought, well, let's make photography a business and combine it with vans, which I already had a passion for, and that's how I did it.
So how did you come up, like, how did you get so good at decorating all this stuff?
Well, some things they gave me a head start on. Like when I got the van, it had this tack board here
this in here.
It had the tack board,
Okay.
yeah, and that's where I put my postcards on. The spinning disco ball, which is probably off camera, that is Velcroed to the ceiling. That was pretty easy. There's wood paneling on the van, which may or may not be on the shot, but this was all done by a friend of mine who's another van community guy here locally. The flooring I put in, which was pretty simple. It was just 12 by 12 sticky tiles, so I just literally just slapped them down in neat, orderly fashion. This plaid seat was here already. The upholstery was already done. The van paint outside I got it that way. I got it the purple. So I had to order magnets for the side of the vehicle. That was another very small but custom thing. Everything else.
What about this part? What exactly is? You said this because last time it was elevated a little bit.
Mhm.
So you said there's a bed up there,
It is, yeah. There's a bunk bed up here, so it's a camper van.
and that's how it came like that.
And that's how it came like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a camper van. Most
So what do the
other-
people use that for? Like this, so they can ride around and sleep, like if they
Yeah,
want?
so they can sleep. This what we're sitting on turns into a bed. Two people can sleep comfortably on this, and then you can put one, maybe two people up there, depending how big they are. It's about the size of a twin size bed, so you can. And they have full ventilation up there. There's a screen that
That's so
unzippers.
crazy.
Yeah, so they can keep bugs out, keep air in, and they can sleep up there just like we could down
That's
here.
so crazy.
Yeah, it's really just I wanted the camper for standing room basically. I don't really do much camping in this, but I like to be able to have myself and visitors to the van can be able to stand, even dance if they wanted to, because we have an audio system in the front. And I just think they're cooler. You know, the fact that it's a convertible van,
Right.
it's like it's so ridiculous.
So,
It,
right.
it never gets old. I still enjoy talking about it and using it anytime I
People
go out.
probably ask you so many questions, right, when they see it.
Yeah, it's an eye catcher.
So what would you say most people when they see it, they've seen some? Because there are, you said before, there are similar vans
Mm-hmm.
in the world,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, as VW culture goes, I'm just another fish at the pond. But that being said, in general, there's not a lot of these on the road, so you still get looks from people and you still get questions. And I always hear from people stories of, I had one of those, or my father had one of those, and we used to go take it
Just
here,
the
take
van,
it
not
there.
the actual photo shoot with.
Yeah, oh yeah,
right?
just
Okay,
just
yeah.
an old van like this, like usually a VW van. But yeah, no other photo booths
Yeah.
yet that are quite like this.
Well, that's what I meant. So most people, when they see it, they've never seen anything like this, probably, right?
Yeah, no, totally. Even wedding planners in the area, despite these being present out west in the United States, even wedding planners here on the East Coast still hadn't even seen these or heard of them. So that being said, I'm happy and surprised that it was a new commodity,
Right.
and that's
So-
what I want to do is just spread it.
So, like, what were like the first steps from like when you thought about it to like, all right, I gotta, because you already had the van. So then, like, what
Mhm.
all did you have to do to start getting like the first photos and all that stuff?
The first thing I had to do is I had to make sure it ran well. It got a complete run over, spark plugs, oil, transmission fluid, gear lube, chassis. I mean, it wasn't in great shape when I got it. I got it from Colorado. I had it trucked out here from
Oh, really?
Colorado.
So how'd you get? I mean, what, you just found it online?
I did. Yep. I
Okay.
found it on a VW enthusiast site, and the carburetor was tuned for high altitude air, so I had to have that fixed. It backfired a lot when I got it because of that, because it was used to being mile high, and it needed other mechanical dial-ins, so to speak. But once I got through that hurdle, then making it look nicer was the next step, because it was really dirty when I got it. I mean, filthy, because it was covered in snow days before I had it trucked here, and it left a lot of debris underneath that when it melted.
Wow.
The inside where the wood paneling is you see now, that was old vinyl paneling that came with the vehicle stock that was ripped and torn. But I knew that the bones were there. Like, the frame wasn't rusted, the body was straight, the paint was good, the seat upholstery was not stained or ripped, which I knew was going to be integral too, because it has to look good on pictures.
Right.
And being those things were good, I was ready and prepared to just clean it up, polish it up.
And then how did you go about like getting the first like pictures? Because after you got it here, then you were just like, all right, well, you had the club, and then you came up with the idea, and then you're like, I gotta make it look presentable. So then what'd you do to like start getting people involved with the business?
Social media. That's really, I mean, I guess probably like most people would assume, it's my biggest outlet right now. And I've manually just called up companies.
Which platform the most?
Probably Instagram.
And you're on what platforms are you on?
Instagram and Facebook.
And then it's just the van cam that people can. Well, the Instagram is the van.cam.
Yeah, that's right. And Facebook is just the van cam, a like page.
So you said you would do what on those?
I actually just reached out to people who I knew were in the industry, either planners or venues themselves, and tried to introduce myself and let them know who I was.
So you just message them?
Yeah, just message them.
Wow.
What works in my behalf, luckily, is that I'm not just another dime a dozen photo booth or photographer.
Right.
It's a complete. So I don't have that hurdle to get over of how do I separate myself from everyone else out
separated.
there. I'm kind of unique,
Right.
you know. So that's good. That works in my favor.
So then you would message them, and then from there it was just whoever kind of took it.
Yeah, I'm still doing that. I message people all the time.
I tell people to do that all the time, and it's just like, I don't know what I think it's just a mindset. People are like, well, should I, like, they're waiting for other people to hit them up.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Because like you can just be sitting around, but you could have messaged a wedding planner that could say yeah, and then you don't know who you're going to meet there, and then that's going to turn into more business. But instead, a lot of people are just waiting. And
most people that I've come to learn about in life, most people have more things to do in a day than they remember to do or have time to do. So that being said, a wedding planner who may think I'm cool but doesn't even know about me, I reach out to them because they've got X amount of things on their list to do for the day.
Right.
People to reach out to, clients, potential wedding, married people. And I just kind of, knowing that, I know that there's only one way to make it work, because the worst thing I can say is no, and that's reach out to them.
So like what types of stuff how are you finding them, and then what types of like a generic type of message are you sending to them?
I try to make every message unique. I'm not doing any copy and paste.
I mean, like, are you saying like, hey, my name is so and so, I would like to link up with you? Like, what's the general flow of the messages?
I keep it pretty simple. Hey, I'm John. This is my company I've started, and I just wanted to introduce myself and let you know who I am and what I'm about. And pretty much that's it, because I don't want to sell it, so to speak. I mean, you're always selling yourself, but I don't want to be a salesman selling myself.
Right.
And that way I just plant the seed and I let them do what they want to do with it. And
so how do you go about finding them? So I think
I'm still kind of
that's
new.
Practical advice, I think, for a lot of people. It's like they're figuring out like how, like for any business, how do I find people, and then what do I say when I message them?
Yeah.
So like, how do you go about finding
other people? Yeah, I go on other people's pages and I see who they may be following, or I search in for you can type in keywords. I found, I'm still pretty new to Instagram, but I found that you can type in certain keywords like Orlando wedding venue or something, and it'll show people's pages that have those words in their description or their title. Yeah, and probably how I guess most people find most things.
Yeah, there's a lot of I mean, you can always use hashtags. It's probably similar to what you're talking about. So you can do like Orlando photographer.
Yeah, I've learned a lot about
like
hashtags. I've learned that the max you can put in any post is 30, because I guess they would get out of control if you did everything else.
People would go crazy.
Yeah, and so I'm trying to work those to my best advantage, and also
I also think on Facebook you can search by job position, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Do you do that?
I haven't done that yet. Yeah, that's something I haven't utilized yet, but I've heard that.
Yeah. And then Instagram, you can search by location. So if you know places that have weddings often, that could be an option. Search for that location, then just go in there, see if they tagged they probably didn't tag the wedding planner, but maybe the photographer or whoever. Or you can always message those people too.
Yeah,
There's endless possibilities, really, but I think you're on the right track. A lot of people are just either they're not even on social media or they're on it just to be on it.
Yeah.
I'm like, you gotta DM people. Like, that's the whole, you know what I'm saying, way to really get ahead.
Yeah, you do.
You gotta be like proactive. Like, I know a lot of models are like they want more shoots, but they're just like, I'm waiting for photographers to hit me up. Like, why, like, you want to work with him, why not work? It's kind of like when like people get like someone's number at the club or something, like, oh, I don't want to text them
right
first,
it's a lot like that.
It's like, why though? Like, y'all both want to talk to each other, why not just like someone has to do it? Just do it.
I totally agree, man. I've never been shy about approaching people, because most people, what you said, they think that in their minds too, and they, for whatever reason, maybe hesitant to reach out. So somebody's got to be the first one, and knowing that you can really use a lot of things to your advantage if you just make the first move.
Right.
Yeah.
One thing I think that would be cool to talk about was like how earlier you were talking about how you had to put certain things on the credit card, and like earlier I was kind of explaining to somebody how like, for like when you have a business like this, let's say something breaks down, right? And so most people, you have the option of fixing it, and if you don't have the money, then it's like, do I go in debt or do I give up and just go stick with my job because I don't want to keep fixing it?
Yeah. And
I was kind of comparing it to like, do you watch basketball at all? So it's like, let's say usually when it gets in between like the 2 and 1 minute mark, like in the fourth quarter, if you're down by 1 or 2 points, sometimes you have to like foul the other team. Yeah. Which normally would be stupid because you're like, hey, I'm giving them an opportunity to get more points. Like, you're already behind. Why would you give them more free points? Correct. But you're like, hey, I'm going to take the risk of either they miss 1 or 2. And even if they don't, that stops the time. Yeah. And so now if I go down and I hit a shot and I do that again, like, you're just giving yourself more time. And so I think... Yeah, you're buying time. Right. I think using a credit card, taking loans and stuff, if you're doing it smart and you're not just going like hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, obviously, is a good strategy. Because if you're saying, hey, this is going to make me $1 million or hundreds of thousands of dollars in the future, why wouldn't I fix something for $100 on my credit card? It's leverage. You know, it's spend money to make money, kind of old adage. You have to, when you're in terms of businesses, you know, sometimes you have to stay afloat. You have to do things that cash flow can be limited with any business, and in order to keep it running, you have to definitely be willing to take a risk, but it has to be a calculated risk. You have to think about, is this what I'm spending money on going to yield a return to me, either financially or principally, in what I'm trying to accomplish? So how do you staying focused, where you're like, hey, I'm not gonna just give up on this? So a lot of people they'll give up quick, I feel like. Yeah, I feel like that too. I feel like this generation, there's a lot. I see extremes in this generation. I see a lot of hardworking people, and I see a lot of almost self-righteous people that expect things to come to them with little effort, and that's not how it works. Right. There's not a lot of in between right now in our generation. There's a lot of extremes, at least that I've seen. I'm sure there's some in betweeners with that, but right, there's always exceptions, but in general, in general. And I get up every day, always calculating what I need to do to make this a success, and making the right moves, contacting the right people, right purchases, ones to not purchase, and when to go forward with that in the future, and for what reason, at what time, all that. I'm always trying to make the right moves. So when it comes to that point where you have to make the decisions where you're like, I don't have the money, but I need to do this in order to keep going, how do you go about staying focused on that? I probably put what's most pressing in front of me first. Like, if I have an event to do for a wedding next week and I don't have enough paper, and a cash flow in my business account might not be enough yet to have me go buy that paper. Right. And this is just a hypothetical example. Paper to print the photos. Paper to print the photo, yeah. And realistically, it's actually fine. But I'm just hypothetically speaking. Then, and that's because that's a wedding coming for next weekend. I'm going to go out and put it on my business credit card right now. But if I want to get a backup printer,
but my printer I'm using right now is just fine, but I want to have a backup printer for the future, I'll put that off until the next event.
So it's kind of prioritizing it. But if it's a priority, it's like you don't even think about it. It's like, hey, I have to have this.
It's like having a spare tire. You know, every car should have a spare tire. Every company should have a spare printer if you do this as a business. But if I already have a backup printer, I'm not going to buy a third just to have it. I'm going to wait down the road when I got more disposable income. And I think it's just a rule that applies really to any business owner. It's, for me, it's paper. For a DJ, it could be audio equipment, you know.
But if it's something you need, you feel like you should be willing to go in debt for it.
Absolutely.
If you believe in what you're...
Yeah, I'm about taking chances. I mean,
I feel like some people would be like, oh, man, I don't have enough money for this paper. I got to call them and tell them I can't make it.
No, hell no.
Right, that's how I feel.
No. Yeah, they can't do that. I definitely like to take chances, take risks. You only live once, and as cliche as it is, but it's true.
Right. Well, people always say it's a risk, but I'm like, what's the alternative? Is you're going to go work for someone, but you're believing that if you stay there long enough, they're going to promote you, and then if they promote you, they're going to give you a pay raise, and if you stay there, it's going to keep... It's like, that's a risk, because what happens if you can get fired or laid off? Like, people get laid off 20 years in.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, now what? You got to start somewhere else, and you can't work there for 30 years, because now you're 50 or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's I feel like I'd rather risk on myself than...
Yeah. if you're a spiritual person, for every action in life, there's a reaction. So everything you do, whether or not it yields what you wanted it to yield or not, is going to have a reaction. Right. What you put out comes back in ways that could either help you, hurt you, do exactly what you thought, or do beyond what you thought. And you try to tune it so that it yields as closely as possible to what you wanted to get from it, and hopefully more.
Right.
But
I definitely agree with that.
It's just applied thinking. I try to be as applied as possible, make the best decisions as I can.
This is just such a cool idea, man. I want to see this take off.
Thank you.
As you do too, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yep. Oh,
There's the lights.
Those are our lights there. The battery takes a nap every like half hour if it thinks you're not using it. Here's our way to turn it on. Right there.
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah, back in business.
My camera turned off?
I don't know. I don't think it's plugged into the battery, right? Not plugged into that battery.
No, it's not.
No, it shouldn't. Maybe it just went to sleep.
Yeah, it's like after so long, sometimes it turns off.
Yeah, we might be here. I got a solution to that.
Oh, there we
More
go.
light. Okay. Now we're running off the car battery, not the auxiliary battery.
But yeah, man, I appreciate you letting me come out here. It's interesting. I think there's a lot of stuff we can do as far as like kind of working together in a sense, like plugging you in with the people I know.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate your interest.
Yeah, man. It's just it's unique, you know, and I think it can help everybody involved, right? Because it's like people want to have cool pictures for their platforms. That way they have a unique thing that people, oh wow, like I've never seen someone that type of pictures. You want to get the clients, and then the people at the events want to have something cool. Yeah. That way people enjoy it. So it's like, why not? Well,
I'm going to ramble here for a second, but for me, it's kind of twofold, maybe even threefold for why I do this. Like I said, I had the passion for the vans and photography before I started this business. But at the same time, by starting a business, I hope to inspire other people to start their own company too, whether it be a lawn business to a financial planner. The country was built on people taking chances, right? Innovation, and always reinventing the wheel. I'm not the only photo booth in town, and I'm not the only photo booth in the country. And I try to make myself stand out as much as I can for what I enjoy doing. So that's part of it, but I also hope to inspire people to take more of an interest in van life. I don't live in this van, but from time to time I've camped in it, and the other vans I've had only had this van for about 5 months, but other vans I've camped in it, and it kind of teaches you about minimalism and simple living and ways in which you can find happiness in non-material ways.
Right.
That was the whole reason why I got into vans in general, was that whole approach to life. It's how I got into photography. I liked getting out in nature and shooting landscapes, untouched area that hasn't been developed, and reminding people of what things were like once before there was commercialism, you know.
Right.
And commercialism is not always a bad thing, but too much of anything can be a bad thing. So in a way, I try to practice what I preach with this. I try to show people that there are all kinds of ways to be happy in life, and follow your gut and do what you like doing. And that's the three of those is me in a nutshell, as an entity and as a brand and as a person.
Right. Definitely agree with that. So what's the like, people might be wondering, like, what's like the business model? So let's say if somebody wants you at an event, or
Mm-hmm.
somebody is thinking of coming to an event, what can they expect?
They can expect to get unlimited prints. We always, no matter who books us, whether it's for a wedding, private party, we charge people a rate, a fee for us to be at that party based upon X people, time, but we don't charge people for a print.
You don't charge the individual people for the prints?
Yeah,
typically.
Yeah. If we're being hired as from a vendor point of view,
Right.
by somebody.
Okay.
If we're going to set up at a market, or any kind of a pop-up event where it could be like more of like a community
Was it like
sales
last
thing.
time? Was it kind of like that?
No, that was the store that was hosting the party had me out there. But no, if it's gonna be a market or a pop-up, then I would charge people for a photo strip, you know, because they're not booking us per se. They're just having an experience
But normally
really quick.
the company or whoever's hiring you would pay for you to be out there,
Mm-hmm.
and then the people can just get prints.
Yeah, same as a regular photo booth. Like if somebody Googled Orlando photo booth, which, by the way, there's not a lot of booths in general in Orlando anymore. It's all open air stuff, which is another thing I pride myself with about this, is because it's actually a booth. I mean, it's a van in this case, but it's the feeling of being inside of a booth. Everything has been open air, celebrity style backdrop photo boothing now for like the past 5 years, and I think it's getting kind of played out, and I want people to get back to booth style from a vintage standpoint. But yeah, that's me getting off on a tangent. But yeah, I try to just remind people that it's a booth, and they would hire us just like they would any other photo booth company in town. They would just say, hey, we're having an event in 2 weeks. Are you guys available? Yeah, we're available. Okay, how much do you charge? And then we would just charge that person hiring us a rate based upon the number of people and the time that they would need us there.
So that's good for the people at the event, because they don't.
Yeah.
Because some people would be like, I know plenty of people. They're gonna be like, oh, well, I already paid to come to this event. Some of the stuff, especially in Orlando, it's usually expensive. Normally, if you're going to an event, so they're gonna be like, well, how much do I want to get my picture taken? And a lot of people they're not really too outgoing.
Yeah.
So I think that's cool, because it's like, hey, something new, just it's not gonna cost you nothing to get it done.
If you're going to someone's party, they're in charge of showing you a good time.
Right.
So like if I go to somebody's Halloween party, they're not expecting me to pay for the punch. They're hosting the party.
Yeah.
They're hosting the party, and they're saying, hey, come enjoy yourself here, and this is what I'm offering tonight.
Right.
And I think when we go to an event, that's in essence what the host is telling its guests is, hey, this is what I'm offering tonight. The Van Cam is here. Blah, blah, blah. Catering company is here. Enjoy yourself. And they paid a ticket to be there. So, I mean, they're gonna hopefully get something for it, you know?
Yeah.
But that's all up to, obviously, the host. But, yeah. The only time I would really be charging people for their strips is if I was set up on the side of the road, and with I do have a lighted photo sign that stays on top of the van, and they could come in and go to get a photo strip for $5.
You say that one more time. You have a what?
I have a sign on top of the like a carnival style sign on top of the van, and it lights up and it says photos. And then I think each letter is
I've seen
14 inches tall, 12 or 14 inches tall, and there's that, and that gets people's attention, lets them know we're there for the night, and get some.
Yeah, it's definitely marketed well. Like, you're not gonna miss it if you see it.
Thanks.
At all.
Thank you. Good.
At all.
It's like I accomplished that.
Nah.
Yeah.
It's really like, for the people listening, it's like you can't even really imagine it unless you see it.
You
really can't.
You're right. I'm being modest too, but you're right. It's hard to get the feel of what this thing is unless you're in it or see it.
Yeah.
At an event, and then it speaks for itself.
You can't just describe. Like, people are thinking a van, they probably don't even know what type of. They can't even probably imagine the van, let alone what it looks like with all this stuff in here.
Should we do a walk around with the van?
Yeah, we will. We will. After
okay.
this, we definitely will.
Okay, and they can see a little bit of it.
All right, man. Well, hey, I appreciate you having me out. We'll end the podcast, and then we can do some footage on the outside.
Okay.
Hey, podcast, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Dee Greene Show. If you like this episode, please leave me a review. Also, check me out on Patreon, patreon.com/Dee Greene, where you can support the vision for only $1, which will help a lot. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you guys on the next episode.
I was good, wasn't it? But let's face it.